Imagine a man who comes home every night, and nobody is waiting for him. No girlfriend, no wife, no relationship drama. Just him, his home, and his own routine. For some people, that sounds incredibly lonely. For some men, it feels completely normal. They enjoy their space. They make their own decisions. They don't feel desperate to find someone just because everyone else is in a relationship. So what is actually going on inside the mind of a man who chooses to live this way? Is he lonely? Is he avoiding relationships? Or has he simply become comfortable with a life that doesn't require a romantic partner? The answer isn't always obvious, because living alone doesn't automatically mean being lonely. And sometimes the reason a man chooses this lifestyle reveals something interesting about his psychology. Let's start with the first reason. Number 1. He values freedom more than constant companionship. Some men become extremely comfortable making their own decisions. They decide when to wake up, what to eat, where to go, how to spend their weekends. They don't have to constantly coordinate their plans with another person, and they genuinely enjoy that freedom. For them, independence isn't just about doing whatever they want. It's about having control over their own time and personal space. Imagine finishing work after a long day, coming home, and knowing you can simply relax, no arguments, no explaining where you've been, no pressure to be constantly available. That kind of freedom can become very valuable. But this doesn't necessarily mean the man hates relationships. He may still want companionship. He may still enjoy dating. He may even want a serious relationship someday. The difference is, he doesn't feel like being single is an emergency. He's comfortable enough with his own life that he doesn't need to rush into a relationship just to feel complete. And that leads to something even more important, because once a man becomes comfortable with his freedom, he may also discover that he actually enjoys his own company. Number 2. He has learned to enjoy his own company. Think about spending an entire weekend alone. No plans, no social events, no one asking what you're doing. For some people, that sounds unbearable, but some men genuinely enjoy it. They can cook for themselves, watch a movie, go for a walk, play games, work on a hobby, or simply sit quietly and think. They don't need constant conversation to feel comfortable, and that's an important distinction. Being alone isn't automatically the same as being lonely. A man can live alone and still have close friends, strong relationship with his family, a successful career, hobbies, social connections. He simply doesn't need a romantic relationship to fill every empty space in his life. In fact, he may have become very comfortable with his own presence. And when you can genuinely enjoy your own company, you become less likely to stay in a relationship simply because you're afraid of being alone. You can choose someone because you actually want them, not because you desperately need someone. But there's another side to this lifestyle. When a man spends years living independently, something else can happen. He can develop a very strong personal routine. Sometimes, that routine becomes one of the biggest reasons he doesn't want to change his lifestyle. 3. He has built a life around his own routine. When a man lives alone for a long time, he often develops his own way of doing things. He knows when he likes to wake up, what he likes to eat, how he spends his evenings, when he works, when he relaxes, and he doesn't have to constantly adjust his routine around another person. At first, this may simply feel convenient, but over time, it can become a lifestyle he genuinely enjoys. He learns how to take care of his home, manage his money, handle everyday problems, plan his weekends, and make decisions without waiting for someone else. That can create a strong sense of independence. He may realize, I actually like the life I've built, and once someone becomes comfortable with their routine, changing it can feel unnecessary. This doesn't mean he will never want a relationship. It simply means a relationship has to fit into a life that already works for him. And that's where the 4th point becomes important. Because some men aren't avoiding relationships. They're simply becoming much more selective about who they allow into their lives. For he is more selective about who he lets in. When you're comfortable being alone, you don't have to accept just anyone. You don't need a relationship simply to avoid an empty apartment. You may be willing to wait for someone who actually fits your values, personality, and lifestyle. This can make some men appear extremely difficult to impress, but often are not looking for perfection. They're looking for compatibility. They may ask themselves, does this person actually make my life better? Can I trust them? Can I be myself around them? Do we respect each other's boundaries? And if the answer is no, they may prefer staying alone. That's an important psychological difference. A man who is afraid of being alone may tolerate a relationship that makes him unhappy. A man who is comfortable alone has another option. He can walk away. Not because he doesn't care about relationships, but because he knows he can be okay without one, and that can make his standards much higher. The real psychology. So what does it really mean when a man lives alone without a girlfriend or wife? It doesn't automatically mean he's lonely. It doesn't automatically mean he's afraid of commitment, and it doesn't automatically mean he doesn't want love. He may simply value freedom, enjoy his own company, have a life built around his own routine, and be selective about who he lets into that life. But there's one question that matters more than his relationship status. Asterisk, is he alone because he genuinely enjoys his life, or because he's afraid to let anyone get close? It's asterisk, those are two completely different things. A man can live alone and still have deep friendships, strong family connections, hobbies, and a fulfilling life. And another man can be surrounded by people, yet still feel completely alone. So don't judge us. Man's psychology simply by whether he has a girlfriend or wife. Look at the reason behind his lifestyle. Because sometimes, living alone isn't a sign that someone has given up on connection. It can simply mean he has learned to be comfortable with himself. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more psychology and human behavior content. And tell me in the comments, do you think living alone makes a man more independent or more isolated?